All right, well, look around you. These are the business leaders of your communities. These are the people that you want to be in contact with. I hope that you had enough opportunity to network with everyone. We want to say a special thank you to Bean Runner, our local cafe, who has provided the food, the breakfast for us this morning. Thank you so much. It's wonderful that you're all here. We had 100 people register for this event. And then I know that there were a few who walked in who hadn't registered earlier. So people want to know what the city of Peekskill is up to. You really draw a crowd, and it is my privilege, not only as a Peekskill resident, but as also the director of the chamber, to introduce Mayor Vivian McKenzie, and she will take the program from here.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our firehouse into the city of Peekskill. We appreciate you for being here today. I stand here in double duty as one of the executive board members on the chamber, and we have a fabulous chamber, as you can see. It's a chamber that works hard for every business that's in it, and I want to thank everybody in the chamber for being here and who's on our executive board and boards for doing all the hard work that you do. I'd like to ask all of our city employees to please stand. And I want to say thank you to this group, because this is a group of people that really make our city run. We are very lucky to have very high professionals in our city who work every day to make sure that the city provides for each and every resident, business owner, taxpayer. So I thank you all for being here this morning and for all the hard work that you do. And for our city council, would you please stand? I'd like to introduce you to our sitting city council. Deputy Mayor Patricia Riley, Councilwoman Kathy Talbot, Councilman Brian Fassett, and not with us today, Councilman Douglas is sick, Councilman Ramon Fernandez, and Councilman Rob Scott. But those are the people who work hard to make the city come together and the things we do. So thank you. We have an amazing presentation coming from our planning department and our city manager, so stay focused and check out what's going on in Peekskill. I messed up, okay. So, I'd like to introduce to you Matthew Alexander, who is our city manager. Matthew was in our city as our comptroller and then became our city manager. He keeps us running and thriving. We couldn't have a better city manager working hard for this city. So, Mr. Alexander. Yeah.
Good morning, Peekskill. We are so happy to be here. We look forward to this first Thursday in March every year because it's a great time for us to get a chance to shine a light on what is happening and what is going to happen in the city of Peekskill. Before I do want to make a couple of thank yous. First of all, I would like to re-thank Chief Seymour and all of the firefighters who have allowed us to use their house. And next, I would also really like to thank the Chamber. This is one of your wonderful events, and we are so privileged that you allow us this opportunity, and we want to thank you for your good organization. I'd like to especially thank your director and your board and all of your members for participating. I'd also like to say a shout out to the Bean Runner for bringing us this wonderful breakfast, and if we could just acknowledge what they've done for us today, we really appreciate it if you have a chance. Jesse Girola puts up with me and all the surprises I give him on a daily basis, and he is doing the video and the Zoom technology, and I just want to thank you, Jesse, for your attentiveness. Especially Stephanie Romero, my assistant, who makes sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. So, I feel like we should talk about what a special community Peekskill is and how engaged it is. This is an incredible turnout, but Peekskill is also blessed with 80 volunteers who serve on our commissions and committees. I see, and having to do a lot with the things we're going to talk about today, but not including all of the committees. I'd like to especially call out the Business Improvement District for all of the good work that they do, the IDA, the Planning Commission, Zoning, and our new Arts Group, and the Parks Advisory Commission. There are many other commissions and committees, but those will be the ones that we touch on mostly for today. Destination Peekskill. Why do we say Destination Peekskill? Peekskill is becoming a destination. I came here 40 plus years ago by way of West Point, and Peekskill was the node for if you wanted to go to a city. I used to go to Steinbuck's here back in the day, and we would look to Peekskill to offer us the things that it had in terms of restaurants. Getting out of West Point was something that was interesting to us at that point also. And it was just a great place. And ever since I moved here 40-something years ago, there is something very special about Hudson Valley villages and small cities that is not replicated anywhere else in the United States. And so it's something that we have that's special that we want to protect and enhance. And so our mission has been to take the 2019 $10 million DRI investment, work with that and leverage that. And so our main tactic has been to take what benefits we have and leverage them and get more things going at the same time so we can get all the wheels turning at the same time towards this revitalization. And so you're going to see examples of that throughout this presentation. And what our end goal here is to create a place that its residents, business operators, and visitors can all enjoy. So we want to attract people to Peekskill to live, work, dine, shop, recreate, visit, and return. So we want people coming back time after time to Peekskill, and we want really for the residents of Peekskill also to really thoroughly enjoy the community that they live in. So it requires making investments continually. That's what managing a city is all about. And the 250 staff members that we have here in the city of Peekskill are always working on managing the assets that the city owns and keeping those assets in good working order, and we continually look to see what we need to do. But today we're going to talk about infrastructure, parks, housing, streetscapes, our people, small businesses, and lastly, marketing. And so at this time, I would like to introduce Carol Samuel, who is in her first year. So I think you're almost at your anniversary?
I'm over.
Oh, over, okay. So one year anniversary with the city. We were very lucky to attract and get Carol Samuel to come here by way of the Bronx, and she's brought a unique perspective. She appreciates the value of the city, and so with that, I'd like to announce Carol Samuel and have her take you on from here.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful. Last year I came, I had no voice, if you remember, those of you who are here. I'm so glad to be able to speak to you and meet you all and really engage. We have a presentation. It is about Destination Peekskill, but we have a few themes that we want to go through, including some geographic areas, but also the people of the city. I want to talk first about some of the numbers and our recovery from COVID. We had, and this is a look at our top 5 employment sectors, so it's just one lens to look at how the city is recovering from COVID. But our 2 largest employment sectors have not quite rebounded, and this is from 2019 to 2023. You see some losses in jobs, but they're still the major employment sectors in the city. But we've also seen growth and rebound from a combination of food service, retail trades, and construction really expanded. So we're recovering in different ways and having different kinds of jobs that are in the city. Peekskill is a net exporter of workers, like many Hudson towns. We have about 10,000 people who leave the city every day to go elsewhere to work. About a third of those are going to New York City, all of the boroughs, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, but also the kind of the ring towns around the city. But we have 4,500 people who travel from elsewhere to come to the city of Peekskill every single day to do work. And I would encourage you to think of them as an audience for your services and your retail outlets. They are coming from the local ring towns, but they're also coming from as far away as the Bronx and Poughkeepsie, an hour's drive to come and work here. And we have about 1,100 people who live and work in the city of Peekskill. This is a different look at our recovery. I'll explain the graph here. It is, the 4 quadrants are really looking at how jobs have grown in different kind of competitive sectors. On the left of the y-axis is anything that lost jobs. And the bigger the circle, the more jobs. But the further away from the center, we have a greater percentage of gain. We have our stalwart sectors: government, other services, healthcare, and social assistance. They're strong, they're still competitive, but they have lost jobs. And this is from 2019. We have the 2 most competitive sectors in the city, in construction and accommodation and food service. Those have really recovered from COVID, and they've grown since 2019. And then in the bottom, and this is a really important sector to pay attention to, or this quadrant, because these are sectors that have gained employment, but they're not quite competitive within the region. And we want to pay attention to those because we want to make sure they're growing jobs here. What can we do to support them to be future industries in the city? Arts and entertainment and recreation, information and finance, transportation and warehousing, as well as professional science and technical services have all grown in employment, even though they're not competitive within the region. And why is that important? Well, and that's all looking in the past. Looking forward into 2034, we see we're slated to grow 7%, our jobs. That's a very positive figure. We'll have almost 9,000 jobs by 2034. Our main sectors, you see government and healthcare and social assistance rebounding, but also interesting are some significant growth in services, local services and professional services. And I like to take this information and translate it into space. As a planner, I'm always trying to think of how do we accommodate these kinds of uses in the city. And it's going to be important to focus on increases in healthcare and social assistance could translate into a new need for medical office. We want to make sure that medical office is in the right location, whether it's proximate to the hospital or proximate to neighborhoods, but we want to be able to accommodate that. But also, interesting, increases in professional and technical service could provide new need for traditional office. It is not a big office park. That's not the kind of office that is traditional anymore. These are smaller spaces with smaller firms with fewer employees. But we want to make sure that we're accommodating that within the city, especially as we think about the development of our own properties. That's employment. And I'm going to turn it back to Matt to talk about the actual physical city and the investing in the city.
So since 2019, when the city first had it announced that it was receiving $10 million of investment in the city between public and private businesses and the city has looked for additional funding to work on the projects such as Fleischman Pier, Riverfront, Pugsley Park, Monument Park, streetscape investments and the like, and we have been able to complete millions and millions of dollars of those. We've been successful at bringing in additional money from the state, county, and federal partners to advance our infrastructure in ways that are good for the overall vision of creating a place that is a destination, and for making the connections and providing the right infrastructure and resources to make all of that work. Since 2019, the city became aware of the Momentum Award, which was an effort by our governor to increase funding only in the Mid-Hudson region for housing, because there is a housing crisis out there. And one of the main goals for the city is to keep Peekskill real. So not only is it a destination, but it's very important to the residents of Peekskill that it be Peekskill, the Peekskill that people grew up in and we recognize, and it's got to be something that that resonates with us. And so Peekskill has been growing. It is one of the major growth areas in Westchester County. And so we looked at potential new developments, and so there are a few downtown and there are some on the riverfront. And so we named these in the Momentum Award, and we asked for resources. And we were successful in bringing back a $10 million grant for the city of Peekskill, and that project overall will be a $20 million project. It will involve private developer money, as well as some city bond money for city assets, such as the garages. And it's going to take a look at Riverfront Green Park, Railroad Avenue improvements, James Street Garage, Nelson Garage, and streetscape improvements in general to make that connection throughout the city, because walkability is very important to us as residents, businesses as resources that people need to get to, and visitors. So just want to shout out to Peter, who you will meet in a second. Peter is in our planning department. Peter Irwin was spearheaded really and worked on with Chris Gross a comprehensive safety action plan application to the federal government, and this is a $300,000 grant that we received at the end of this year, I believe, at the end of 2024, to look at how people cross and traverse through the streets of the city of Peekskill and how we can make those connections better and easier. This is necessary, as we all know it now, but it's also necessary for the increase in housing growth. And so when we originally started looking at housing, we did so without knowledge of the Momentum Award, and we already had the attributes of a pro-housing community, but the state gave us certain metrics for us to look at, and we were able to fulfill that. The planning department did an excellent job of putting together a package for the state to review, and we were able to get certified in April 2024 as a pro-housing community, and we were also awarded in the same month this award from the Momentum Grant. And here you see examples of some of 2024's development, and we're proud to say that One Park Place is 100% leased up at this point, so from what we understand, from what's been reported to us. But we also have 2 other developments coming, and there's many more in the pipeline. So part of this means that we need to leverage this investment and make sure that at this point, this is exactly the right time for us to look at a logo and a brand that identifies the city of Peekskill. You know that we started this project last year. We started it with a much broader base, and we decided to take a step back and focus in on just the logo and the brand, and we've hired a firm called Trajectory. They have strong experience. They've created fresh, adaptable logos, and most importantly, they have a place-based method of working with their clients. And so they have created, most notably amongst these 4 examples, is the Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and that neighborhood has this great example of a logo that they've been able to use successfully there, and we liked it because it relates back to the historical and geographical nature of Capitol Hill, as well as gives it a quick, easy, identifiable marker. Okay, and so at this point, we're going to head down to the waterfront, and Carol Samuel is going to take you on that tour.
Yes, speaking of destinations, the Peekskill waterfront is absolutely a key destination within the city. Last year we released an RFEI, a request for expressions of interest from developers. We had some strong developer interest from new faces in the development community to redevelop 3 of the city-owned commuter parking lots to revitalize the waterfront. Keeping the parking is absolutely important and a key part of that, but we know that our waterfront could be so much more, and that these sites are key to that. And once we start to invest in our sites, with housing, with the potential for a hotel, to keep some of the parking, public art and amenities, which makes Peekskill so special, but also making sure we have retail and the infrastructure that's needed to help support the area overall, including sewer and water, making sure the sidewalks, all of those things work to support the revitalization of the waterfront. We have this idea, these are just images to give you a sense of the flavor of what we're aiming for as we think about redevelopment of the waterfront. This is the waterfront experience. The image here in the middle is a historic building that is actually on the waterfront, the red brick building, but the rest are just ideas. But we want to see, the local waterfront revitalization plan that the city undertook a number of years ago has been the guiding force of the redevelopment of the waterfront, and it remains that. But it really called for bringing in the historic elements of the waterfront. But we want to elevate that as well. We want to expand that. We want to have nods to the history, but also bringing in contemporary and different kind of design elements. I will say this, architecture, we need to create a place here on the waterfront, have it hang together. Today it's parking lots. We want it to feel like a neighborhood, to feel like a destination. Architecture is number one thing that we could do, but it's not the only thing that we can do. We also need to make sure that we have active ground floors, that we have life spilling out onto the streets and a possibility of engaging people as they're walking down the street. But also most important is that we have open spaces and public spaces that are flexible, that serve all of the uses that are down there, whether it's a kiss and ride or a farmer's market or the holiday market. We want public spaces that incorporate art, that are welcoming, that really also connect to our existing open spaces. So that's what we're doing with those commuter parking lots to support the redevelopment of the waterfront and enhance places like this, the Riverfront Green. The Riverfront Green is absolutely a gem. It is our town green. Last year we had 16 organized events with well over 15,000 attendees. But those are things like the 4th of July or the Hispanic Heritage Festival, and there are many other festivals that are there. But every day people go down there to enjoy the playgrounds, to walk, to enjoy nature in the vista, because it can't be beat, to enjoy the art that's down there. We have beautiful public art that's down there. It is a destination, and we're working hard. We've got a grant to make improvements to the park itself. We finally got Army Corps of engineer approval to move forward with that. But I also want to call to mind the very important resiliency planning that we must undertake if we're to keep this gem into the future. In 35 years, sea level rise, it's a real thing, it is a real thing. We'll have regular inundation of Riverfront Green to, every day, and taking away a use of that park because there's water there and flooding there. So we're working now to do planning to make sure that we can preserve that in a way that is keeping the use of the park and it will into the future. So further south along the waterfront is the beautiful Fleischmann Pier. If you have not been there, you must go. I really strongly encourage. This is a historic part of the city. It is a real destination, and we're trying to expand that as a way to bring people into the city. It is a historic part of the city. learning more about Fleischmann, the factory that was there, and why we have the pier. But it is a unique experience. You can go out on the water. It's 500 feet long. You can enjoy the scenery, go fishing, go kayaking, catch a boat. We have this beautiful historic interpretive signage. I want to give a shout out to Kathy Santa Coloma, who helped. She really dove deep into the history of the area and the beautiful nature of the area and helped summarize these. She's the project manager for this project. It's still underway. It's a $5 million investment. We still got the punch list to do, but it is absolutely a place that you should visit. We had the grand opening last fall. We decided to experiment with bringing in boats. We have the RMS here, where the captain is here. I don't know if you could raise your hand. Of the boat here, we had 3 boats over 5 weeks, 1,000 visitors in that short time. We had a shuttle that the bid helped us with to connect the pier with the downtown and the train station. And our businesses downtown anecdotally reported they absolutely saw an uptick in business, and they knew when boats were in use. So that is a very positive thing. And we know from other research that cruisers will likely spend $80 outside the cruise in any locale. We're expecting to continue that work into the spring, bringing more regular boats and more regular sightseeing cruises. And we're very excited to talk about the potential for a connection with West Point. The deputy commander of the campus and of the academy was very excited to think about how they could make a connection and build on a connection between Peekskill and West Point. The cadets are looking for places to be entertained, those who are allowed to come off campus. But their families and visitors, thousands of people come to events at West Point. And we think this is a natural audience for Peekskill, and it would be a great connection. And this is where you come in. We want to market Peekskill to West Point. We want to be able to make the best case for why they should want to come here. So we're going to ask you all, if you have a service, if you have retail that you want to market to the city of West Point and to potential visitors, please take our short survey. It's short, it's only a few questions, to tell us, and as we put together our package, we want to market the city of Peekskill. We also want to market you. Now I'm going to shift to a second very large destination in the city of Peekskill, and that's our downtown. It is equally unique in the region. It is a nice, walkable, condensed downtown with restaurants, with Westchester Community College, with the Paramount Theater, and markets and things like that. We have we're calling them new downtown anchors because these are all things that have been here for quite a while, and we're finally getting life to coming back to them. On the left, you see 41 North Division Street, which is really slated very close to being reactivated by Children's Village, with 22 apartments above and the ground floor and basement commercial. This is a very exciting, you see this beautiful rendering by Joe Thompson of what it will be in the future. It's a really important location on our we call busy corners. We need it to be an active, attractive, successful facility. That it has the potential to make connections with artisans, to be a place that people want to come back to again and again. We're really working hard with Children's Village, and they're very interested in making sure that we get the programming right, that it really is a gem within the city and a real destination in our downtown. Another location is the Ford Piano Building, which has had a number of ideas for its redevelopment and reactivation. And as a planner, I know the importance of having, you want to show proof of concept, you have a temporary activation. This is a real opportunity. They did that in Ford Piano Building. In December, they had an art market, which was quite successful. And they want to build on that idea to redevelop it as expand the idea of this temporary activation, to have a performing arts center, to have a cafe, to have a shop where artisans can present their wares, and have a real synergy for the city, for the art lovers in the city, and for the city itself. to make people come back again and again. That's an important factor. You know, Matt said that at the start. We want people to return. But thinking about what makes you want to come to the city and come experience something again and again. And this is a real opportunity for us. And I just briefly, you know, the Taco District Rooftop Bar, I highly recommend it. It's a unique space in our downtown, also a destination and an important kind of feature of our downtown. I'm going to turn it over to Peter Irwin, who will take us further downtown in our downtown wayfinding.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you to Carol and Matt for bringing the energy to this presentation. I'm impressed, and I apologize if I'm a little bit more matter of fact. I have a few slides on downtown revitalization initiative projects that we hope will really improve the public realm in our business improvement district. So today's presentation is called Destination Peekskill. What will visitors see when they get here? The Wayfinding project is an attempt to answer that question. We will be installing more than 50 custom artistic signs throughout downtown in the next few months as the weather gets warmer. Vehicles will encounter parking directionals when they approach key intersections, actually every intersection downtown, so you will be clearly directed to parking facilities with high definition signage. Our parking facilities will be identified in this same design family. And then once you get out of your car, you'll encounter strategically placed pedestrian kiosks. The second from the left image will be populated with a walking map and business directory. And then you'll have points of interest signage to guide you around downtown. But remember, this isn't only about directionals. It is expanding the sense of a district around Restaurant Row and really downtown all the way from Broad Street to Division Street, as well as the riverfront as you get off of Route 9. So really excited to bring this project to fruition. These designs were created in collaboration with Peekskill residents, and we hope it's something that everyone can identify with. The DRI plan that was published in 2021 uses this term civic hub for the intersection of Division Street and Park Street and that whole neighborhood surrounding it. 100,000 visitors each year come to the civic hub either to attend the farmers market, to dine at a restaurant, or attend one of our renowned public events at the Paramount or at New Year's, for example, every year. So we know, it's clear to us and everyone in the room, that improving the state of repair there, the pedestrian signals, the curbs, our sidewalks in that district will have a multiplier effect in investment downtown. And on the left-hand side, you can see a rendering, just a teaser of what we expect that plaza to look like. It's a larger footprint than what currently surrounds the gazebo today. And I'm happy to say this group is actually, you're the first ones to see this, and I apologize if I get in trouble for it. But this is a rendering of a sculptural pavilion designed in collaboration with architects, landscape architects, and a sculptor that serves the function of the gazebo, provides a podium for events, provides a bandstand for our summer music sessions, and stands alone as a really unique, you will not see this anywhere else in the world, sculpture that we hope to bring to our downtown and live in that plaza and that landscaping in years to come. So I wrote these notes before import tariffs, and we know we'll have to take this project out to bid as soon as possible. We have streetscape designs that lead us all the way from the new plaza to the train station. It's a large project with a fairly large budget. So as we put it out to bid and receive construction pricing, we'll have to make some difficult choices, but we hope to be able to focus on an intervention like this that really could be a game changer for downtown. Last for me now is just on Pugsley Park. I think at the presentation a year ago, we were under construction. Happy to report that we opened this park in June of last year, and it hosted our Peekskill Pride event in June, and also the Peekskill Film Festival was really successful there. would encourage anyone to get in contact with the city, with Jonathan from the Parks Department, to host your event here. There's new electrical service, 200 amps, there's water service. This can really be the living room for Peekskill, especially as developments continue to come online here. I'm going to come back in a few slides to talk about how all of these DRI projects have changed our thinking around public art and historic preservation, but for now, I'll turn it back to Matt.
Oh. So the Paramount Theater is possibly and definitely is our #1 destination Peekskill location. So they have a long history of bringing people to Peekskill, and since the pandemic, they have been able to stretch up to 59,200 tickets in 2024, which included 4,500 youth. They have 100+ shows for 2025. And 6,000 veterans and families will be there at no cost. They are an important partner in the city's revitalization plan, and they are also a recipient of DRI funding, and they are putting out a bid soon for their location, and it's going to reimagine the interior of the Paramount Theater in a way that it will allow for new kinds of shows to come to the city of Peekskill, and we're very excited about that, and we hope to be announcing next year and showing you pictures of what that looks like. They also are a great partner in terms of collaboration with other businesses, and so they have sponsorship packages, they have ways for people to advertise their business. Another important location in the city of Peekskill, so Matthew Rudikoff was able to access data which showed us that in 2023, Depew Park, which is an amazing so we like to be efficient in Peekskill and have multiple uses for our spaces, and we're very thankful for being able to use this space. So 176-acre historic park in the city of Peekskill brings 90,000 visits from 25,000 unique individuals, which is the total population. It means that there are definitely visitors to Peekskill who are coming to Depew Park. We have spent $1.4 million in Depew Park, and we just received another New York State Parks grant for a $1.35 million project in Depew Park, and we are preparing another grant too. One of the things that we have to work on in Depew Park is the pool. That is not included in the numbers that I stated, but we're going to keep working on renovating and making sure that Depew Park is a good asset for the city of Peekskill. So Destination Peekskill is not just these city-owned parcels, it's also the people who make up Peekskill and the businesses that make up Peekskill, and that is the most important component of the city of Peekskill, because that is what makes Peekskill live and breathe. So we're investing in the businesses through the DRI and through efforts made by the planning. As you know, so the DRI was a successful way to bring in millions of dollars, $6 million to private entities in the city of Peekskill. We have supported a Restore New York grant for a $2 million towards the creation of a new business in space that needs to be adaptively reused. So, and we've done DRF funding, which Peter will talk about later. Our people are very important, and we want to start with our people in all different kinds of ways, but one of the ways we really are most concerned is youth, because they are the future of Peekskill, and so we want to make sure that we're out there. And first and foremost among these activities is Tuesday McDonald is here, and the Youth Bureau is one of our most important arms of meeting the youth where they are and making sure that their well-being is taken into account. Tuesday has workforce development programs and employment programs and all kinds of other youth-centered programs. Our partners and private businesses also, New Era Creative Space. They are opening a new location on Esther Street. The Rotary is an important collaborator and partner with the city of Peekskill, and Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board has collaborated with the city, along with the IDA providing similar funding for workforce development programs. And Jonathan Zamora and Tuesday and many others have been an important part of that. And I'm just going to throw in there too that we just brought in 2 new firefighters, and Peekskill is starting to see just a very interesting phenomenon. We had these 2 firefighters that were brought on by the chief through his volunteer program. One of them had paid for 20% of his education through a volunteer firefighter scholarships, and he is a graduate of Peekskill High School and also a CPA, I think, or soon to be CPA, and decided, I would really like to stay in my home and live where I grew up and keep serving the city that served me. And it really touched me. And both of the new firefighters fell into that category, and they're both very impressive. And so that's the kind of thing we're looking to get out of our youth development, to support youth where they want to go. And Peekskill City School District, fastest growing district in Westchester County, 2nd fastest district in the Mid-Hudson region. So Suffern, I think, is the only district that is growing faster. And Peekskill City School District is an amazing district, and it is very well organized. It offers all kinds of programs. The city has been meeting with the school district to find out where the gaps are in what they offer, and making sure we don't replicate something that they already offer too much, and trying to cut back on what they already offer so we can move forward where they're missing, and just trying to catch every youth where they are. But our school district is an amazing asset for the city, one that celebrates diversity and does it well.
We just have a little video that highlights and features our school district.
How many schools do you know that have a planetarium?
It's not like a typical learning environment where you're sitting in a classroom.
We get to explore different parts of the universe without leaving the school.
I've been fortunate enough to live and to be a student in Peekskill City School District since I was in kindergarten.
One of the most amazing programs that we have that have changed many lives is called the My Brother's Keeper program. It focuses on helping young men mentor other young men.
I'm just incredibly grateful for the Peekskill City School District for giving an artist and a daughter of immigrants like me the chance to be valedictorian, go to Harvard, and to make every day a masterpiece.
Peter?
So first of all, thank you to the many successful arts organizations that have, over the last 2 decades, turned Peekskill into a city of art, including Arts 10566, including the Hudson Valley Museum of Contemporary Art and their renowned Peekskill Project rounds of art, and of course the Peekskill Arts Alliance. And thank you also to the hundreds, literally hundreds of artists who have moved here to live and work and run studios through Peekskill's one-of-a-kind artist certification program. I tried to get a number for this. I counted 250 artists over the last 10 years, so if you think about 25 artists moving to Peekskill every year to live and work, it really adds a lot to our community. And the result of that now, after a few decades, is that the city owns more than 30 sculptures and murals throughout that are displayed publicly throughout the city, which I think is pretty unique. So this year, in 2025, the city is bringing those stakeholders to the table to take a new approach to public art and take a more active role in managing and conserving the art that we have, as well as providing an equal playing field for everyone to come here and feel like they can exhibit alongside renowned artists. The way we're doing that is a new commission, like Matt mentioned, called the Peekskill Arts Council, and some of its members are pictured here. Some of its members are also the leaders of those organizations that I referenced. And so they meet now quarterly to, we have a whole new set of municipal art guidelines. We have an application process. They want to be reachable to anyone who has an artistic idea for Peekskill. And we have a website that's in beta right now, but you could go to peekskillart.com to see our collection and how you can get involved. You could follow Peekskill Art on Instagram. And so I just wanted to highlight that new initiative, and we think this is going to be a way to really highlight Peekskill as a regional standout for public art. And lastly, the Downtown Revitalization Fund. Again, this is money that originated with the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, but it was a way for the city to help private business owners invest in their spaces alongside our investments in the public realm. We have 10 applicants from round one that are bringing their projects to fruition now, and you can see a couple of examples there, including Whiskey River and Terra Dulce Bakery. And we're now reviewing a second round of applicants for additional funding, really focusing on historic preservation. So Peekskill loves and cherishes our historic district, but we understand it's also difficult to navigate an additional set of rules. And the city manager will talk briefly about what we're doing to help businesses start up, but we hope to learn from the money that we are granting out through the DRF to come up with a better program, a culturally appropriate program for historic signage that will result in consistency downtown and really highlighting the historic assets that we have. Quickly, just thinking of new businesses, I want to turn it over to Matthew Rudikoff, the Economic Development Specialist, to welcome several of the new businesses we've seen this year.
Good morning. You know, Peekskill's always been a destination. Since the colonial times and all through the history of Northern Westchester, it's been the central place. And even as in my childhood, my aunt who lived in Croton would say, "Come on, Matthew, let's go to Peekskill and I'll buy you some toys." I said, "Sure, let's go to Peekskill." So that's going on, and that really had to do with the retail stores and the other services that were available. So I'm here to talk about some of the new retail stores that have emerged. And what's interesting about them is they fit into the growth areas that Carol was talking about earlier, but they also bear the special stamp of Peekskill in terms of their uniqueness and their beauty and their creativity. And included in those new stores are in the food area, there's El Sueño, which is a tapas place down on Railroad Avenue, because us as a central place is both the downtown and the waterfront. Both are places that draw visitors and provide wonderful experiences. So there was El Sueño. Back closer, also on the waterfront, is the Copperhead Club at the foot of Main Street, which is a wonderful new gathering place for people. And then moving into downtown, there's the Peekskill Barber Cafe, which is a very unique and sophisticated looking place. And there's also Cosmos Fresh Market, which is a little bit outside of downtown, but that's interesting because the city was very instrumental in that one in assisting the owners in getting a $2 million grant to open a new 12,000 square foot supermarket in an area of the city where there's very, very little neighborhood-based shopping available. Closer in downtown, we have what I like to refer to as ye old cannabis shops. Peekskill has two. We have Valley Greens and Cloud 914. And we also are very proud and happy to be announcing or expecting the reopening of the Kathleen's Tea Room, which is something that's been a long-standing. Thank you for the investment and effort it took to make that happen. But in conclusion, you know, so the retail is growing, it's filling out the market, it's adding to the destination. And so what I'd like to make more people think is like in the old days, instead of driving around from place to place, each place, drive once to Peekskill, park, and come and do many, many things, and come often and invite your friends and neighbors and outside town visitors. Thank you very much.
So in an effort to help new businesses coming into Peekskill, I have learned a lot in my last couple of years with new businesses and lots of new mom and pop shops do not understand municipal city hall requirements for opening up a new business. We're putting out a new effort. We've got Nick Cecere here from our building department, Carol in the planning, and what we're going to try to do is to make things simpler. And so we've put together a flow chart for Peekskill about what you need to think about when you come here. This will be on our website, and it will also have clickable sites where you can get more information, more help. But what we also say is please come meet with us. The zoning codes are, we cannot make them, you're still going to have to deal with the zoning code, and you're still going to have to find out what you're doing, and we can help you, and we want to help you. We want to make things no nonsense and easier and simpler. That's our. So next steps for Destination Peekskill. The next thing that we need to do is to take all this good stuff and tell the world about it, like we're doing today, except we want to do it in a bigger, better way. One of the ways we're doing it is to go meet people who want to come to Peekskill, like West Point, and say, please come to Peekskill. How can we get you to come to Peekskill? How can we tell you more about what Peekskill has? How can we tell you where to eat, what to do, where to shop, and where to stay? But we need to go with a much broader category. So the next step is that we will be putting out to bid a broader marketing proposal, RFP, and that's going to be funded by the DRI. The strategy will increase visibility, increase visitors, and grow our economy. And lastly, I would like to say that at this point, maybe we could take a question or two at this late hour, I'm not sure, but we want you to take this survey, and we're looking for ways to make that connection artificially by going and talking to people and getting them to come. We're going to take information used from boat tours. We're going to look at the people who go on boat tours. We're going to look at the people who get on the shuttle and say, where are they from? How can we get more of you to come visit and shop in Peekskill? And that is the conclusion of what we have to say. And I just want to thank you and thank everybody for
Thank you so much. Thank you to the City of Peekskill. You can see a lot is happening, and I'm sure if you have time to stay afterwards, you can come and ask questions and have those one-on-one conversations with not only Matt, but Carol and the rest of the council and the mayors here as well. So Next month, our networking breakfast will be at the town of Cortland, and they will be sharing with us what's happening for the businesses in the town of Cortland, and it'll be on a Friday, not a Thursday, but same time. We'll be starting the program at 8. The registration for coming in, the doors will be open at 7:30. Please take the flyers with you on the table, and also there are directories. The Hudson Valley Gateway directory is also on the table. If you want more of them, we have a box out front. If you want to share them with others in your community or in your storefront, please let us know.